So Tristan, thank you so much for joining us here at the Vancouver International Film Festival.
I'm honored to be here.
You have a film in this year's festival, Strangers on the Earth. Can you tell us a bit about the film?
Okay, so Strangers on the Earth is first and foremost a film about the Camino de Santiago, which is a famed ancient pilgrimage in northern Spain. It's a trek that ends in a town called Santiago de Compostela, beautiful old city, and really begins all points east, all over Europe. The path that we took in making the film starts in the Pyrenees in France and goes 900 kilometers, big difference there, west to Santiago. While we're there, we interact with lots of different pilgrims. Among them is a cellist, a classical cellist named Dane Johansen, who was walking the Camino with his cello on his back, performing the suites of Johann Sebastian Bach. So we have this amazing soundtrack as well to boot.
Yeah. Amazing. So I'm curious, what was the genesis of the film? Were you sort of, had an idea that you wanted to go make this film, or did you just bump into someone carrying a cellist?
So it actually started with Dane. I know Dane from the New York City classical music scene, and he had been talking to me about it for quite a while. And over time, it just became clear that there needed to be a movie here. That takes time, effort, pre-production, lots of money, etc. And really going out on a limb to believe in that sort of mad dream that he had. And where I came into the picture is essentially trying to take that dream and elevate it into something more than just the kind of thing that you would see someone create maybe a Facebook page for or a MySpace or something. Yeah.
And so the title of the film, Strangers on the Earth, I'm curious, was that sort of, I guess, to encompass all the people that you met on this pilgrimage?
It's multi-pronged, actually, the meaning. While we were there, we met a pilgrim who was walking against the flow of traffic. Okay, so every year 200,000 people go on this pilgrimage, usually heading east to west. If you see someone heading west to east, likely that means they live there. That's their job. They're a professional pilgrim for life. So we met this German man who was walking backwards on the Camino, and have to talk to this guy. And we asked him, what is a pilgrim? What does it mean to be a pilgrim? And he told us that the word pilgrim comes from the Roman language originally, meaning a stranger, meaning you feel strange on the earth. You feel like it's not your world. And then we did some digging. There's actually a verse in the Bible that references this as well. And we start the film with that just to give a little bit of context.
Interesting.
But it's not a religious film. It's not, there is a sense of spirituality. There's a space for that. But I like to think of it as squarely kind of a secular film.
Interesting. I mean, I imagine a lot of these pilgrims take this path for, sort of a spiritual introspection, spiritual journey. For yourself as a filmmaker, did you feel that you experienced any sort of, transformation of your own going through the process of making this film?
Sure. I mean, I think any transformation that I saw or felt was probably through kind of empathy for the pilgrims that we were filming. Sort of extending myself to feel what they were feeling. What you see a lot of there is you see a lot of people who go in to the pilgrimage with the intent of figuring out, of working out some problem that's going on in their life. And what they don't really realize is that you can't just kind of graft this quest or this search for meaning onto this physical path. I mean, you could just walk down the street and do that, and you'll realize that it doesn't work that way. So what you see is you see a lot of people doing that and then getting to the end and expecting there to be some kind of answer for them, and there's not. So by extension, I was sort of seeing that as it was happening and realizing this is where the film is going. So that was my transformation.
Interesting. Well, I mean, were there any standout memorable moments for you? I mean, I'm sure there were plenty, but something that comes to mind that was like, this is really like a moment that we have captured in film, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a heartbreaking moment actually in the film that to me it still is so emblematic of what the film is. So when you get to Santiago at the end, everyone stands in the square and sort of looks up at the cathedral and acknowledges that they have made it to the end. We follow throughout the film. You occasionally see almost like a ghost passing through frame. You see this gentleman who was from France who was doing the entire Camino in a wheelchair. He was wheelchair bound. And so there's this really, outstanding physical act that he's having to endure. And he gets there and is just you can see he's very humbled and a mixture of both happy and confused about what to do next when he's there. And he's sitting there in front of the cathedral looking up at it, and a gentleman comes along who is in kind of like cycling gear, who clearly had done it on a bike, and gets down and kneels next to him in front of the cathedral, and the man in the wheelchair extends his arm to sort of comfort him, and then the cyclist immediately gets up and walks away without acknowledging him, leaving this man in the wheelchair alone again by himself, sitting in front of the cathedral to contemplate his life.
I mean, did you ever involve yourself as the filmmaker? Were you really keeping like an objective?
Yeah, my goal was always to try and create that space for the viewer to really make up their own minds about the conclusions, about what we mean. I mean, when you go there are so many different beliefs that are thrust into this very narrow path, and a lot of those ideas butt up against each other roughly. I mean, it's like life, there's a lot more noise than there is signal, especially when it comes to belief and a lot of different people. I mean, again, 200,000 people per year. Some people are doing it for vacation, and some people are doing it to mourn the loss of a loved one, and some people are doing it for religious purposes. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously like a very physical endeavor, and for a pilgrim is one thing, but as a film crew, I'm curious, like, was there a unique set of challenges that you had to experience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were a crew of 10.
Wow.
We had a production vehicle and 2 units essentially. So I actually didn't get to walk a lot of the Camino. I did probably half of it.
Okay. And
any time that I was walking was essentially a lost day for me, because you walk 30 kilometers with a camera and a tripod and you're toast.
Yeah.
So we would often have a second unit that was just our trail unit, and they would be tasked with essentially populating the film with images. Okay. And then the unit that I was typically with would get pilgrims who were coming off the trail at the end of the day, checking into the hostels, and we would just interview them. We would set up we would use the bunk beds and set up these little sound studios in the bunk beds. Yeah. There are no talking heads in the film, so we wanted to create an immersive experience, almost like the viewer is a pilgrim hearing these voices being piped into their brain.
Wow. Interesting. And so with the film, congratulations on your world premiere here in Vancouver. Thank you.
We're very happy.
What's your plans for the future of the film, and for yourself as a filmmaker?
That's okay. So I'll answer the first part, which is that we're hoping to play the festival circuit, garner more interest, get as many people as we can to see it. That's probably what most filmmakers want. And then on top of that, theatrical distribution is a hope. So we're trying to talk to as many people as we can about that. And then digital platforms down the road, but we're seeing this as hopefully a year-long festival circuit as much as we can. For myself personally, I feel right now like one of those pilgrims coming to the end of the Camino and asking myself, now what? So I don't know what's next for me. I've been having such a great time here, talking to people, talking to my peers, and really being in this very cerebral space where everyone is kind of on the same page. And you know, it's not a huge film market. It's not like meaning it's not one of those festivals that's just like a meat factory for films, you know. So everyone is here talking about the art, talking about the good stuff, and that's been really refreshing for me.
Great. So they're engaged, and you're sort of just getting out there and seeing what happens.
Absolutely.
Trusting the process.
As much as possible.
Well, thank you so much for coming by, and we wish you best of luck with the film.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.